So Kaltura is the first and only open source video platform. When we started the company, we were looking at other vendors in the industry and they were offering closed proprietary solutions. And we felt there's a big benefit of providing an open environment in order to allow for the flexibility and for the interopenness between different offerings that are in the marketplace, kind of a glue to put together fragmented industry with a lot of different offerings around engagement, analytics, monetization, but they didn't necessarily come together but competed with each other. So we thought, why not provide a solution that could cater to all that together? That's what we did. Today, happy to say that a few years after, we're thriving with an open source community of more than 50,000 developers around the world. And with the amount of downloads that are north of 250,000 downloads used by corporations, with both media, enterprises, education institutions around the world. So it's by far the most used solution out there. And I think the reasons are varied. The first at the base level, of course, that the very base offering is free, which is always good. But the second beyond that is that people kind of break the divide between build and buy. And they feel as if they own it and therefore they could do stuff with it. And flexibly enhance, extend, integrate, customize in areas where they otherwise would not be able to. The third element is that they could host it wherever they want to host it. In many cases, SaaS is a big benefit because of economies of scale, because of affordability, but on the other hand, for many it is a sort of liability in the hands of a third party that you may not want to put your content at, or just not wanting to put your strategic element of the business in the hands of a different vendor. So the notion of having a code that you could control, that the company will not suddenly be sold or go under, and that you know that you could take that piece of code and build it and extend it and enhance it to something that's very powerful. So like I said, our open source community has grown significantly, the amount of usage has grown significantly, and what's also interesting is the amount of third-party integrations and plugins that have grown dramatically. So these extend across the entire gamut, like I said earlier, from the uploading, distribution, monetization, analytics. We have an exchange environment, which is a marketplace for third-party vendors to offer, sell, promote plugins into our system, and there are more than 100 companies that are today offering these type of solutions that are making a lot of money on top of Kaltura users around the world. When we look at where things are being used, you want to ask the second question about education? Or?
Sure, I have a question about that. Do you seek out third-party applications? Do they seek you out? Or?
Yeah, so it's both ways. So in some cases we definitely...
Could you just rephrase?
Sure. Sure. So when we look at the type of third-party applications and how they connect to Kaltura, some of them are coming to us. In some cases, we reach out to other vendors. I think what's usually the most interesting case is where users or customers of Kaltura are actually reaching out themselves or asking us to reach out on their behalf or bringing in their partners. So without getting into names, one of the largest media companies out there had recently been covering stuff that they wanted to have more live interaction. So they wanted to have more polls and stuff like that, and they had their own vendor that they wanted to use. And of course, they brought that vendor and said, we need them to create a plugin to Kaltura because we're using Kaltura as the infrastructure for all things video within our large media company. So it took us a couple of weeks, and that integration was in place, fully working, fully functional. And again, the catalyst in this case was the actual broadcaster, the media company that said, we need to have 1 + 1 = 3, and then that put us together. And of course, once that plugin is in place, and that enables that to happen with all the other customers and all the other vendors out there. And we see more of that happening. But the good news is that when you have an open architecture, you don't need to be sitting in the middle and being the matchmaker, and you don't need to give the approvals, you don't need to be out there and being a gatekeeper, which is also a limiting factor. Rather, you let that happen freely, people can take your APIs, they can build on it. I'm sure there are tons of things today, like an iceberg, that's under the water that I'm not aware of, that's people doing stuff with Kaltura, and that's great, that's good news. And some of it does bubble back up, and we learn of it, and it's promoted in our site. But a lot of what's happening today in the world is done not proactively by Kaltura, but we are reactive to what happens, and then we help bring it in. An important element of that is that whenever we find something that we think has broad commercial appeal, and then we definitely try to put it in our exchange, and in some cases we try to bring it into our core platform, because while we offer an open source license, there's also a commercial license for Kaltura. The companies that are actually engaging fully with us get a fully clean and indemnified and it's a full, for all intents and purposes, it's a full commercial platform. And for that, we like to bring in the best of breed solutions out there that are available on the open source side. So we definitely integrate and bring that in.